Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. So full disclosure that this meeting will be recorded. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or hold them to our Q&A session that we're going to be having after for 15 minutes. And we'll be happy to answer any questions or comments or concerns that you guys have. So just jumping in, welcome to the 2024 Russell Brinsfield Internship presentation. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the Hughes Center and what exactly the internship entails. So the Russell Brinsfield Internship Program is a partnership between the University of Maryland Agriculture Law Education Initiative and the Harry R. Hughes Center for Agro-Ecology. And it's made possible with funding from the Empower Maryland program, which is a collaborative program that supports various research projects by youth throughout Maryland. And more specifically, our program is named after Russ Brinsfield. He was a co-founder of the Hughes Center, and he was a key player in advancing the understanding and implementation of practices that balance agriculture, preservation, and environmental protection. So it's kind of no surprise that our internship throughout the summer has held these key themes and carried over his values. And over the summer, we've gotten the opportunity to see the complex relationships between the environmental, agricultural, and policy-related issues. And I speak on behalf of all the interns when I say that this experience has really given us a greater understanding of these complex issues, how you can't really address one aspect without focusing on the others. You know, they're all connected, and they all have play an important role in the environmental future of Maryland. So on that note, I will go over today's agenda for the presentation. So first, we're going to do a little introduction of who we are, of the interns. Then we're going to discuss our projects that we've been working on for the past summer and touch on our experiences, and then key skills and takeaways that we've learned. And then we'll go into the Q&A session. So.
All right, hello, my name is Davon Nixon. I'm a Writing 2L student at the University of Maryland Carey Law, and I'm interested in environmental law and policy in general and how those two things intersect. It's nice to be here today.
Yes, and I'm Grace Overcash. I'm a rising sophomore at the University of Maryland studying environmental science and thinking about potentially pursuing a career in environmental policy, but this internship has really showed me all aspects of the environmental field, and I'm really appreciative for Nancy and Megan and Rachel and the opportunities that they've given me. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
And I'm Chantal Desmarais. I'm a rising senior at the University of Maryland studying environmental science, and I'm interested in natural resources management and sustainability. And this internship has taught me a lot about agriculture, which is a topic that I haven't really delved into that much. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity.
All right, and then our first project by Davon.
All right, I'll begin. Hello again, everyone. Today I'll be discussing the importance of aquaculture lease inheritance in Maryland. To provide some background, aquaculture involves the cultivation of aquatic organisms such as fish and shellfish. This industry is vital to our economy and food supply, but its sustainability heavily depends on how leases are managed, especially when it comes to the issue of inheritance. The USDA defines aquaculture as the production of aquatic organisms under controlled conditions throughout part or all of their life cycle. Just to give a brief history of aquaculture in the state of Maryland, Maryland has a long history of aquaculture, particularly with oyster farming dating back to around the 19th century. The state has made significant strides in promoting sustainable aquaculture practices, even overcoming some die-offs, but challenges still remain today, particularly regarding lease inheritance policies. Now, our project goal is to explore and analyze best practices for aquaculture lease inheritance by comparing policies in different states, providing objective information for stakeholders to determine the best approach for Maryland. We were originally tasked to look into lease inheritance in the state of Maryland and how we can maintain working leases to continue production. Our research then took us into examining how different states manage their aquaculture leases, particularly focusing on how they manage policies with inheritance and business continuity. This broader analysis helped us identify potential improvements for Maryland's policies. Currently, Maryland faces several challenges with this aquaculture lease inheritance policy, as said by the Department of Natural Resources. These challenges we identified include investment and long-term planning for businesses. The current law states that leases will automatically revert to the state, and by state I mean DNR, or be open for public use upon a leaseholder's death, if no co-leasee or leaseholder is named. It explicitly prohibits passing a lease down to heirs. Now, we found that potential leaseholders may be more hesitant to invest in long-term developing in their operations, knowing that their efforts will have difficulty being passed down to their heirs. We also found issues with business continuity. This reversionary policy can cause operational disruptions, delays, and financial losses. When a leaseholder dies and the lease reverts, this can potentially cause downtime as new leases will need to be applied for and approved by the agency. This interruption can be potentially detrimental to ongoing aquaculture projects that require consistent and predictable management in order to thrive. Lastly, we identify community impact as a potential challenge. This instability of the policy affects local communities that rely on aquaculture, particularly in the Eastern Shore. The reversion of leases in the state can lead to gaps in local production and also local employment. And this can potentially undermine the economic and social benefits that aquaculture brings to these areas. And as I said, including job creation and local food production. All right, and now let's take a brief look at other states and manage how, well, not that. Take a brief look at other states and see how they manage aquaculture lease inheritance and what we can learn from them. Our research included creating a matrix of most of the eastern, or all of the eastern seaboard states and a few other states. And we went in depth with this matrix to gather multiple sources of information relating to our project. What you see on the image there is the states that I decided to focus on for purposes of this presentation today. So to begin with New Jersey, we found that New Jersey has rather clear regulatory guidelines and a well-defined process for managing aquaculture leases. However, we've also found that it lacks specific inheritance provisions. This means that while the process may be more clear and predictable, the absence of inheritance guidelines can pose challenges that are similar to what's found in Maryland, particularly in the realm of delays. Virginia, we found that Virginia offers a flexible permitting system that supports operational continuity. Although it also does not have explicit inheritance clause language, its regulatory framework allows for a rather smooth transition and less disruption when they find themselves in the event of a leaseholder passing away. In the state of Delaware, we found that Delaware has a rather streamlined process when it comes to lease management, but they have restrictive transfer rules which limit leaseholder flexibility. This could complicate the transfer of leases upon the leaseholder's death, potentially leading to disruptions in aquaculture operations. And additionally, we found that Delaware's aquaculture industry is smaller than most, and also recent enactments and commercial aquaculture laws highlight ongoing regulatory challenges in the state. And then finally, we took a look at North Carolina, and North Carolina stood out to us because we found that they treat aquaculture leases as real property. And in the state of North Carolina, aquaculture leases are generally treated as real property also for the purpose of inheritance. So when a leaseholder passes away, the lease can be inherited by an heir, provided that the heir also meets the necessary qualifications to hold such a lease. Now, this model allows leases to be transferred rather seamlessly to heirs, minimizing the disruptions that can arise and also encouraging long-term investment. It serves as a legislative or regulatory option, offering a more clear framework for inheritance and transfer, thus ultimately supporting continuous operations and encouraging investment. All right, and now based on our analysis, here are some of the best practices that Maryland could consider to improve its aquaculture lease inheritance policies. One effective approach is encouraging leaseholders to form limited liability companies, or LLCs for short. LLCs offer continuity and legal protection that would allow lease ownership to be transferred within the business structure, ensuring that operations can continue smoothly even after the leaseholder's death. Incorporating a succession plan as a part of the operational plan of the business ensures business continuity. Other business structures like S corporations and partnerships can have similar effects. LLCs also provide other additional benefits, including legal protection, tax advantages, and operational flexibility. These advantages make LLCs particularly well suited for aquaculture leaseholders seeking long-term sustainability and business continuity. Another approach is adopting a model similar to North Carolina's, where leases are treated as real property. This will provide clear transfer and inheritance processes, minimizing disruption and encouraging leaseholders to invest in their operations with more confidence that they can actually be passed down to their heirs. Now, stakeholders can consider pushing the LLC business structure for the benefits it provides and the way it addresses the inheritance issue. The state of Virginia, for instance, provides many comprehensive resources for this reason, supporting leaseholders with guidance on business structure and regulatory compliance. It may also benefit encouraging people to really think through the business plan and planning in general, and to ensure continuity and take on the full benefits that are provided. Now, in conclusion, I would like to just run over what we talked about here. Inheritance issues is crucial for long-term sustainability in Maryland's aquaculture industry. By learning from other states, we can identify flexible permitting, more clear inheritance guidelines, and supportive business structures as key elements for more successful policy. We have provided comparative data from New Jersey, Virginia, Delaware, and the state of North Carolina. Additionally, we highlighted potential business structures like LLCs that can ensure continuity for leaseholders in Maryland. Thank you for your attention today, and now I'll pass the floor to my fellow intern, Chantal.
Thank you. So our next project is focused on conservation issues and practices. So for a little background, the Climate Smart Ag project focuses on providing science-based comprehensive data on the projected impacts of climate change that affect agriculture. And along with the Climate Smart Ag project, they provide recommendations that farmers can implement based on the issues. So this led to discussions on how farmers can adapt to and mitigate these effects. So the goal of our project is to contribute to the Climate Smart overall project and to identify key conservation issues, and then create a comprehensive report on agricultural conservation practices. So this provides a resource for farmers, legislators, stakeholders, and landowners to promote effective management and maximize the conservation benefits. So this is a portion of the matrix that we made, and the image that you're looking at is focused on the issue of nutrient management issues that farmers are seeing due to climate change. So we provided the practices, so for example, cover crops, crop rotation, drainage systems, and fencing. And then we provided benefits for farmers and then landowners using the farms. And since 43% of Maryland's farmland is leased, we wanted to focus on the benefits that landowners can see as well. And then also legislators. And then also we provided funding opportunities that would assist in implementation, technical assistance, and advice. Then lastly, we offered real-life success stories of farms in Maryland that use resources like the grants and funding to implement some of the practices that we listed here in the memo. Some key takeaways from this project that we learned when speaking with policymakers and other stakeholders is that there was an emphasis on engaging landowners to implement practices and also engaging with farmers to ensure that their voices are heard. Another important takeaway is that it's important to give credit to the farmers who work really hard to implement environmentally friendly practices on their farms and to acknowledge them as environmental stewards. Also, we want to ensure that farmers and landowners have the access to the technology and the resources like grants and funding. This includes giving user-friendly access to, once again, the research, funding, and practices, and anyone else who wants to can implement them. So when researching, we also found that each practice may address multiple problems. So it's important to offer assistance and pick the best fit for the specific issues that the farmers are facing.
Good job, Chantal. Okay, our next project that we worked on over the summer was the Urban Agriculture Project. Just for a little bit of background, the Urban Agriculture Project is focused on how urban agriculture is becoming a crucial issue for counties as they address food sustainability and related challenges. For example, community gardening initiatives. So the growing interest in urban farming across the US is prompting local governments to kind of rethink their food system strategies and integrate commercial ventures, nonprofits, and community efforts. And urban agriculture is emerging as a key element in building resilient and sustainable food systems. So our project goal that we were given was, and that we framed our research and our comprehensive matrix that we created around, was to evaluate how Maryland counties incorporate urban agriculture into their comprehensive plans and to understand the economic development opportunities and the importance of establishing urban agriculture operations. So for our project, we used the Maryland Department of Agriculture definition that states that individuals producing farm products in urban areas or municipalities and selling or planning to sell at least $1,000 worth annually classifies them as an urban agriculture production. And these two pictures, we actually visited an urban farm, and these are two examples of conservation practices that we saw on the urban farm. It's kind of a way to mitigate runoff and kind of demonstrating the drainage using native plants, and just another way that conservation practices and urban farms are benefiting local communities through the environment and through, bringing communities together as well. So this is a picture of our matrix that we created. So this is specifically the county of Frederick County, but we did choose, so we selected 12 counties as well as Baltimore City, kind of based on the availability of up-to-date information on the comprehensive plans, population density, as well as relevancy for urban agriculture in the communities. And then using this matrix, then we crafted this matrix using 8 key questions that most notably identified the plan's mention of urban agriculture, or if they have a framework that would support urban ag in the future, if a new county policy or program kind of opened up the opportunity for that venture to be explored. And then using this matrix, we then compiled the information into a memo that summarized our findings. And along with that memo, we also created a few graphs, one which I will show you on the next slide. So this is a slide, or this is a graph that is again, comprehensive of all the 12 counties and Baltimore City. But it kind of identifies key terms and languages that were related to urban agriculture. And it reveals that while the term urban agriculture is not, widely identified or like widely used in all the counties in Maryland, they're still making significant strides in incorporating it into their plans. For example, you can see sustainability and sustainable development mentioned down at the bottom, and that kind of hints, at the introduction of sustainable infrastructure, which could relate to more smart growth opportunities that could then kind of progress into urban ag specifically. But even though it's not specifically mentioned, urban agriculture is still being considered by the counties. And kind of the key takeaways and like themes that we saw were the types of urban farms that were mentioned throughout the counties. There was an emphasis on community gardens, rooftop farms, and other mixed-use agricultural activities. The objectives that we saw throughout the comprehensive plans were kind of improving food security in green spaces that were motivating the incorporation of urban agriculture. The future policy changes that some mentioned or that could be further incorporated in plans that maybe don't mention urban agriculture as much are potential updates to zoning and land use policies that could allow for the expansion of urban agriculture in urban areas. And then there's mention of sustainability, obviously as a factor to urban agriculture, the use of urban agriculture for environmental sustainability and stormwater management in urban areas is a significant factor in reason to incorporate them into, comprehensive plans and future developments. And then in specifically Baltimore City, the comprehensive plan, we noticed that there was a focus on equity. And when speaking on urban, environments, it's important to consider environmental justice and education impacts. So in Baltimore City, the inclusion of urban agriculture went kind of deeper to allow for equity discussions, kind of emphasizing how urban ag would benefit more community centers and involve schools and maybe underprivileged areas to have access to food they wouldn't normally. So that was a factor we noticed in Baltimore City that could be applied in other counties as well. So yeah.
So along with urban agriculture, shipping containers are becoming a very versatile use in urban agriculture, and they can serve as vertical farms, greenhouses, mobile farms, educational spaces, and they can also be used for cold storage or tool storage. So these are controlled environments for growing crops, and they reduce waste and optimize space. So in this picture is a shipping container used on EcoCity Farms, which was one of our field trips, and we learned about their use. So our research, we assisted Prince George's County Soil Conservation District and their research on how shipping containers are being used in urban agriculture. So we looked at news and media coverage from other states and cities, and then looked at their zoning plans. So we identified articles from Boston, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, and Denver that highlight the benefits of using shipping containers for storage or for farming. And these articles also discuss the companies that these cities are using that are responsible for constructing the containers.
All right, and yeah, this is just like an overview table of our results here. And we found in Boston, shipping containers are utilized for hydroponics and aquaponics in urban farming. And the zoning code in Boston permits freight container farms, or it also permits freight containers to be used. And it directly addresses the use of containers in the code itself. In Denver, particularly in a division named Sedalia, shipping containers are adapted in vertical hydroponic systems within climate-controlled units. Denver zoning code permits enclosed structures, and it indirectly addresses the use of shipping containers. So it vaguely refers to what would apply to shipping container use, but it doesn't explicitly mention the fact that shipping containers can be used for the purposes of storage or farming. And finally, in New York, the containers are used for hydroponic farming within climate controlled units. And the New York zoning code likely permits enclosed farming structures. But again, it doesn't explicitly state that. And also it, like Denver, it indirectly addresses the use of containers in general. So in summary, all three of these cities, shipping containers are primarily used to create controlled environments for urban agriculture. The zoning codes, however, vary in how directly they address the use of shipping containers. So overall, this research highlights the adaptability and the potential growing acceptance of urban agriculture with varying degrees of regulatory clarity. Overall, our findings indicate a positive trend towards the integration of shipping containers in urban agriculture across the United States, each adapting or at the very least providing the regulatory framework that would be necessary to support this innovative approach to farming.
Thank you, Davon. And based on our results, we found that Boston was a really great example of being specific about the container usage and also encouraging urban agriculture. So Boston's Article 89 discusses and defines freight containers specifically under hydroponics. It defines freight containers and goes into depth about where they are allowed. For example, as you see on the chart, they're forbidden in residential areas, but mostly conditionally allowed in industrial, institutional, large scale, small scale, and commercial areas. So overall, Boston was a great example of being specific about their use in urban agriculture.
Okay, and then we just wanted to kind of highlight our experiences that we've had throughout our internship. Just touching on the amazing opportunities we got this summer. So thank you to everyone who's been involved and who's allowed and made this possible. On the left, we visited EcoCity Farms for an urban farm tour. We got to see real examples of repurposed shipping containers and the benefits of local farms and urban farms to local communities. And then we also got to help take water quality samples with shore rivers. We got the opportunity to go out on the boat and learn more firsthand ways about the importance of keeping our waterways clean. And we also gained insight into Maryland policy and legislative action to help, motivate us in our future careers. And then we also got a tour of the Urban Farm Incubator at Watkins Regional Park. We got to see other first-hand examples of best management practices on urban farms and the role that urban agriculture has on communities and individual businesses as well. So very valuable experiences. And then we also got to attend the Thriving Agriculture Workshop. We got to hear from people in various states, either bordering Maryland or farther, with people with diverse backgrounds. It allowed for open discussions on multiple environmental topics, and it was really valuable for us just learning about, all the different ways that people come together in agricultural space, not necessarily having to have an ag background, there's people from all over who are involved in this discussion. So it was really motivating for us. And then we also attended the Climate Smart Ag Project Leadership Team and Research Meeting, a research team meeting. So as Chantal mentioned, one of our projects references the Climate Smart Ag Project. So just seeing how the meeting was run, how a group of people come together conduct a large team meeting for a large scale project like this was really valuable. And obviously their findings, the conservation practices that were mentioned have really helped us in our research. So being able to experience that was really valuable. And then we also got to work in person at the Baltimore Ag Center. Our internship is virtual, so whenever we get to work together and come together to work on our projects in person, we really love it. So we got to all meet there. And then we also had lunch with the executive director of Empower, Adrian Arthur. So thank you for coming and meeting with us there. We really appreciated it. It was amazing to speak with her and to see the cows and work on all our projects. So we had a great time. Thank you to everyone who made all of these experiences possible again. And then just kind of touching on key takeaways. We're all kind of just gonna talk about our personal experience, and I can go first. Like for me, before this internship, I had little experience in, specifically like teamwork. Like obviously in school, you work on projects together, but this is the most large scale it's ever been. And working with Chantal and Davon, I feel like we've really gone to a bond. I'm happy to call them my friends, and working to finalize our projects has been really motivating, and coming together as one is a skill that I'm going to carry throughout my career. And also just research, even in the environmental field, no matter what I decide to go into, it's a skill that is extremely valuable and gives you insight into anything you're studying. So those have been my big factors from the internship. Ron, if you want to go.
Yeah, I took away a lot, and I've had a lot of growth from this internship. Before I joined, I had never really conducted a formal interview. So, given, over the course of the internship, I've conducted many interviews with my teammates. So, that's been great. So I feel like it's a professional skill that I'll be able to take and utilize throughout my life. So I'm very happy to have that experience. And I also improved my note-taking skills very much. I've in the past struggled with note-taking, but being exposed to this internship and learning strategies to take notes in different scenarios even has given me another valuable skill that I'll take and utilize. And of course, also I've improved my research skills. This is a different type of research that I wasn't really used to. So, diving into it, receiving advice from my mentors has really helped me, and helping me become, more well-versed. And I think it's another valuable skill that I'll be able to use in the future. Especially if I decide to go into a policy career. So, yeah.
So I really enjoyed working as a team with Devon and Grace. So thank you guys for being awesome interns. I really enjoyed researching different topics, aquaculture I had never heard about, and I never really researched policies specifically. So especially with aquaculture, looking at different policies in other states was really interesting. And listening to scientific research from the Climate Smart Ag meeting was really interesting to hear actual scientists and their research that they've seen firsthand. That was really interesting to me. So overall, I've had a wonderful time. I've learned so much with research, interviews, teamwork, and note-taking. So thank you so much to the other interns and our mentors. Thank you, Nancy, Rachel, and Megan, for all of your help.
Yes, and thank you everyone who we've met with, even if you haven't been directly involved in our internship, just coming to the presentation today, listening. We really appreciate your time and your knowledge. And on that note, we will open up the floor for questions and comments, and you can type them in the chat or unmute, whatever you're feeling.
So there now is just good job.
Oh.
You can open up the chat if you want to see the
Okay.
questions too.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Okay, well, there's no questions, then we really appreciate you all, everyone coming out today. Feel free to add us on LinkedIn. And we are really grateful for the opportunity and the experience to talk with you all. And yeah, again, if you have a question, feel free to reach out and email us. We'd love to talk more about our projects. And yeah, I think that's it from us.